Hey everyone, welcome to Fast Forward, the podcast about real conversations, not highlight reels. We explore the people behind the work, how they think, what drives them, and how they grow. Today, I am joined by Kate Holgate, Executive Creative Director, partner at Noble West, and co founder of Secondborn. Kate has spent more than 20 years leading creative teams and building brands, and is now stepping into founder mode by launching Secondborn, a venture that directly fuels and extends the work at Noble West. Kate, how are you?
Hi, thanks. How are you today?
Doing great. Good to have you on. Yeah, so before Noble West and now alongside Secondborn, what did your early creative career look like and what experiences shaped how you lead today?
Well, I started my career, I luckily landed in the agency world really early on. I started my first agency job right out of college. I was a fresh faced 22-year-old that thought she knew everything, and I knew absolutely nothing. But my background was in graphic and interface design, which is now called user experience. And I always say I think I got my first job because I programmed a website and could make things move on a screen. And that blew the mind of the founder of the agency I ended up working for almost 20 years in the end. But yeah, I entered the workforce. I was one of two women at the time. I worked with a lot of men. Had an incredible mentor that was a creative director that became my concepting partner. So I started on the design side, but then became a hack writer, started writing ideas out, and yeah, and then fast forward, you're suddenly not the youngest in the office anymore. Yeah, and I have since joined Noble West about a year ago, which is has been an incredible journey. We are a agency that specializes in food, agriculture, and sustainability. So really the future of food. And so I was looking for something a little more niche. I'd been at an all service, all industry type agency where I
Right.
worked thing from pet insurance to toilet paper, you name it, I've done it, and this was a really great move to go into something a little bit more specialized. And then during this time, also had an idea for this business you just mentioned called Secondborn, which is a creative incubator. So we launched that about a month ago.
Yeah, it's really cool to not only get into a new industry as you've gone through a whole career of marketing into now where you are and you still get to be creative, but also maybe it's something that resonates more with you, with who you are and your values maybe?
Yeah, for sure. No, I was definitely really interested in something a bit more purpose driven. Also, one thing that's been interesting as my career has evolved is I'll always be a creative at heart. Like I love the business. I think you have to love this business to stay in it. It's a hustle. It's always evolving very, very quickly. Creativity is super important to me, not only as an individual, but I think it helps solves a lot of challenges in the world way beyond marketing. And so I got really lucky in that I landed in an industry that I absolutely love because I do think we can make change. We're in communications, and I truly think you can make change with the work you do. But yeah, it's changed a lot over the years too. And I think that's why I love it. No one day is ever the same,
Mhm,
and you're always learning something new. And so
mhm.
one thing that I think really shaped my career is I've always been a lifelong learner. I'm very curious. I think that, whether you're marketing something that's B2B, B2C, there's still a human being at the end of the day that's listening in or taking in the creative you put out into the world. And so they have emotions. Yeah, I think there's a lot of resilience that comes too with being in this industry as long as
For
I have.
sure. Yeah, I have some experience in the creative world as well, and I oftentimes wonder how someone like you, who's very successful in this space, how you are always able to find new ideas. Do you have any like practices that you kind of like go back to if you're in a creative rut or something along those lines, or how do you constantly produce? I guess it's a job, but it's also who you are, right? So like, how do you balance that, and how do you find the new ideas?
Well, it's funny. I think it's a muscle, and you have to use it frequently to keep it,
Mm,
being off at all times.
yeah.
When I always say, you have to have a hard nose too, but there's always more ideas. And so, one thing that I think is really important is I spend a lot of time outside of the office. So I think we as human beings that are trying to communicate with other human beings. The only way you can do that effectively is to have a lot of empathy. I don't think you're going to gain a lot of empathy if you're just inside an office for 60 hours a week, not being exposed to life. And so I spent a lot of time outside of the office just taking in art, culture, music, just whatever I can to stay creatively inspired. I also think my best ideas often come when I'm not sitting at my computer or at a desk. I always joke that when I'm on a mountain bike ride, I live in Boise, Idaho, so we have trails out our back door. Most of my good ideas come when I'm on a trail somewhere or on a ride. I don't know, I just think that you'll be told no a lot, and so you have to have a
Right.
lot of optimism and stamina to just keep coming up with ideas. And sometimes they're not even good reasons why would get told no. Sometimes you might not agree, but we are also in the service industry, and you start to figure out where to pick your battles, what to defend versus what to maybe like reframe or come at it from a different angle. And so I always say you start with quantity over quality and then you narrow it down. Guess what? You're probably gonna have to do more rounds. So for me, it's just staying inspired outside of the office and also just really staying keep exercising that muscle. One thing that I have said is, I still love creativity. I still love a good ideating session. I always want to be involved in those because that is how you stay fresh with ideas.
Mm,
Use that muscle in a long time. Sometimes it takes a little longer to get there. And I just love it. Even on things that aren't through my own agency, someone will hit me up with needing some ideas and something, and it just fills my bucket. And so, yeah, I do it a lot.
right. So you lead with passion first and foremost. This is something you love, and then you also have an ability to process and run through those thoughts that you have, and kind of when you're exercising, mountain biking. You said that's really cool. I'm also the same way. I like to run or something to like kind of channel new thoughts or new energies or just work through things. I always find the endorphins of exercise are a great way to work through all those things.
Yeah, for sure. There's actually scientific research around if your brain is in a place of rest, like where you're not necessarily like really focused on the challenge at hand, if it's just kind of percolating, that oftentimes that's when ideas do happen. That's why they say you
Mm,
get your best ideas in the shower. Mine's
yeah.
just not real. But there's just research behind it that makes a lot of sense. So sometimes I say when you're creatively stuck, go for a walk, get outside, go do your routine in the morning, do your routine backwards in the morning, like, do something different to shake up your day, and that can oftentimes help
Yeah,
too.
break it. Break whatever the cycle is, because you need to change from the repetition sometimes is powerful, but it also can be a hindrance if you get too stuck in your ways. We
Yeah,
always
yeah,
need to adapt and adjust because that's how life is.
yeah, totally. I mean, as humans, again, we were programmed thousands of years ago to be, like, not like surprises because there were predators out there, and so I think we tend to
Mm,
be creatures of habit, and so, again, to really hit, creativity and innovation, you have to be willing to break some of those habits and, uh, yeah, try some new things.
you reference predators, like biological, like our ancestors, like
Yeah.
that type of thing. We don't have any predators anymore. We might with
Right.
AI though.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There are some out there.
We're just our own worst enemy. That's the only real enemy out there, ourselves. Okay, so I really wanted to dive into Secondborn. Can you kind of peel back the layers to it and kind of show me what it is exactly and how it helps your career with Noble West? I know they kind of work in tandem.
Yeah. So I think one thing I noticed over the years of working with a lot of different brands, again, on the agency side, is that, in-house teams are oftentimes spread really thin. They're kind of, the agency swoops in, they get to do all the sexy work. And oftentimes the in-house team, like sometimes they're involved, sometimes they're not. But I saw that there's this gap between in-house and agency teams, and I started thinking about, I was like, well, what if we found a way to teach tools that we use as an agency to become more creative to different brand teams and then kind of invite them into the process? It should be collaborative. It should be really fun. We didn't get into this business because it's not fun, but there's just so much pressure on brands now to perform, to show the return on investment, especially when it comes to marketing. And I think there was a statistic released last year that something like 51% of marketers believe that fear, like a culture of fear, is a barrier to creativity. Yet, 56% of, Fortune 500 CMOs expect innovation from their teams. And so there's this real tension between a culture of like, creativity. You have to embrace failure. You have to have space for, thinking big.
Yeah.
But so if you have a culture of fear, it's hard to be innovative. Innovation is expected.
Yeah, you need a big landing zone. Like, you need the ability to be flexible when you're working through these creative processes.
Yeah. And so I was introduced to design thinking through a really dear friend, Jenny Myers, who runs a different agency. And she asked me to teach a course at Boise State University around design thinking. And I remember telling her, I said, I'm not an expert at design thinking. She goes, well, this is just the formal way to teach it. You do it in your job every day. It's all about, empathizing, defining, ideating, prototyping it, getting feedback, iterating on it, and then coming up with creative solutions. That's pretty much the whole entire design thinking methodology. And so through that process, I'd always done had a lot of ideation tools. So I started teaching this class, and it inspired me to think about, well, why aren't we teaching other people these brainstorming
Mhm.
tools? And so the thought around Secondborn is how, when a team is stuck or when they're feeling like they need a little bit of a spark, how can we help them in the process, whether it's through what we call creative labs or workshops, or even just coming and helping them in a way that brings them into the process but still helps them come up with big ideas, and they're done in sprints. So, we don't have to be another agency coming in. It's more of, the idea is more that we're going to come in and help you with your ideas. Whether you execute on them internally or externally, that's totally up to you. But it's been interesting that a lot of brands, because there's a lot of budgets have been cut. This is an interesting business model. The other piece that's really unique about it is we can build an entire customized team based on the brand and the industry. And so, having just been in this business for so long, not only do we have incredible teammates at both Noble West and Second Born who have worked on a lot of different types of brands, we have this really deep bench of freelancers. So it's a really great way to scale a team and bring in a team that's really customized for your unique challenge. And so, yeah, it was just this little nugget of idea. And as I say, in our non-existent spare time this past year, we decided to operationalize it and figure out how to make it into a business. So, but it's been really fun to think through. And I just think there's a world out there that needs it.
Right, and it's not a you don't have a bunch of overhead, you don't have, like there's not a lot of risk for you. It has like, that you understand the industry as a whole, you understand the issues that a lot of companies are facing, and you're kind of providing something that doesn't really like creating a market sort of, like it's a new style of business for to fit what's going on in the world
Yeah, for sure. And I think with, creativity is a little bit under attack right now. Everyone's talking, I mean, AI is
as
not a new
well.
anymore. However, I do believe AI is an incredible tool that is allowing us to prototype faster and get to more ideas. And so we at Secondborn and Noble West have really embraced it as a tool. It's not a means to an end. At the end of the day, people still want to work with human beings. They want to have that experience of collaboration. I do think it's an incredible tool for making ideas go further. In fact, another workshop we teach is around how to use AI tools to help with creativity, not necessarily replace it. It's like I said, it still takes
Mhm.
time to connect the dots. But how can you use the tools and implement them within your own team so that it kind of gets rid of the stuff. It makes things more efficient and gets rid of the stuff you do. It would take your time to now have more room for bigger thinking, testing out ideas, that sort of a thing.
Yeah, that's how I like to utilize it as well. It's a sidekick, for ideas. You're able to truly work through these things in a way that allows you to be more creative in a more functional way.
Yeah, for sure.
So, how have you transitioned into an leadership role as a founder and a co-founder? Is it something that you share duties with your partner on this, or are there multiple partners? And is it something that you guys are kind of still working through? I know it's new, but like these roles are, they become a significant role sooner than you'd think.
Yeah. Well, no, that's a great question. Well, first of all, I have to give a shout out to my two business partners, Sarah Choa and Allie Cox. Without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. But what's really interesting is I'm a total right brain. I'm a creative. So operationalizing a business is a stretch for me. It took me a lot to, I was learning a lot. I've always been interested in the business, and you just learn it after you've been in it for so long. You just start to learn about how it works. At the end of the day, you have to figure out how to be profitable, how to resource correctly. I mean, this is a very unpredictable business. When it rains, it pours. There's other times where it's slower. And so, really thinking through how to operationalize something, of course, I've had experience in that, but have really leaned on my partners for some of that. So Sarah is our managing director at Noble West, but she's also a co-founder of Secondborn. Allie Cox is our CEO of Noble West. She's run an agency for over 18 years and has just a wealth of knowledge. And so we've
Nice.
sort of tag teamed it together and really leaned on each other's strengths. And then this has been a great opportunity for me to learn. And I'll tell you, I don't care what anyone says, but leaders are always still learning. Like, I'll never pretend I know everything. That will be the day I'm not a good leader, probably.
Right. I was
So,
gonna say that's how good leaders are.
yeah, and
Not all
so
leaders.
true. Worked for but I'm just, again, I'm just really curious, and I don't know, I just have been I've been supported by 2 incredible women along the way, and so the thing that's hard is also trying to prioritize your time. I'm still running an entire creative team, working with them closely. I mean, I always say they make me look good every single day, but I'm still in the day-to-day of the business, and then also building something on the side, and then trying to be a good mom and partner and friend. So, juggling all the balls.
Balances of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly we're all juggling something, I guess, in our own ways, right? But you seem to be juggling quite a bit. But it is cool that you have been able to do this with your coworkers. Even your CEO is involved in the second born. So it's not like it would interfere with what you're doing at Noble West. It's something that's potentially even helping Noble West, right? Is that the kind of the idea?
Well, it's supplemental, I will say. They're very different. I mean, Noble
Right.
West is special in that it's very niche, and we have no desire to compete with ourselves. Like, it is incredibly special what we're doing. There are not a lot of agencies that specialize in food, agriculture, and sustainability. And we take that
Mm,
super seriously, and that is our mission, is to fix our broken food system in the United States. So that's super important. But I will tell you that the thing about Secondborn is that we're still applying some of the same creative principles, but it does open it up. We're really looking to work with brands who are in health, happiness, and sustainability still, but also trying to do things a little bit differently. And so it's definitely supplemental, but they're very different business
right.
models, even in terms of what the kind of brands we take on, but also like how we run the business. So very, very different there. But they're absolutely complementary.
Yeah, it's cool. It is unique for sure to have the something going on with your coworkers. You're a CEO and still like maintaining everything that you had that already exists and still building something on the side. It's powerful. Pretty cool. Noble West. Can we talk a little more about that? Uh,
Yeah.
you said there isn't a lot of competition in that industry, or like there's not lot of companies trying to do exactly what you guys are doing.
I would say there's competition, but it's not widespread. I mean, if you think about the marketing industry, there's a lot of full service shops that will do anything. And for us, our positioning specifically, because it's around food and agriculture, there are not a lot of agencies that only focus on that. There are some, though, for sure. We definitely go and pitch against some of those, but for us, it's really believing in that there's a way. There's all these companies out there, these brands that are investing in agriculture and the production of food, like the whole entire system, in the right way, but they're not getting the credit they deserve because they don't know how to tell that story.
Uh,
And so we really are very, very much a strategic and creative shop. We start everything with strategy. In fact, we won't engage unless there's a strategic angle to it. And then we do the full creative as well. And so, um, there's a lot of hero ingredients out there. We want to make sure that farmers are getting what they deserve in terms of, investing in their own the ways they're growing food, whether that be through regenerative agriculture or how they're processing it, if they're saving energy and water and doing all the right things. They're not always, I would say there's an opportunity often to tell that story a little bit better. And it's becoming important. It's an important topic now. I think a lot of consumers are demanding to know where their food comes from
yeah.
more and more. So we're our CEO, Allie, who founded the agency, she's a fifth generation farmer on both sides of her family. She
Oh, okay,
just
that's cool.
yeah, and she worked, in New York for a long time. She worked for huge agencies, Fashion Week. She did a lot of different things, but saw that she wanted to get back to her roots and something that she really
Wow.
so she decided to found this agency, and then I got recruited. Like I said, it's only been a little over a year,
Yeah.
but was really intrigued by the story and also what she was building. And I can't tell you more wonderful things about my two business partners. They're just incredible humans, and we just make a really good trifecta. So here I am.
That's awesome. And I also imagine you can't help but notice it in the grocery stores. There are a lot more sustainable, um, labeling. It's more apparent than ever that, farmers are trying to be more aware of this type of thing. Have you noticed a trend? Is it still continuing to grow? Is it something that you guys keep tabs on, or is it just kind of, we have a customer here and there, and we just focus on the strategy?
No, I think I don't know if I'd call it a trend necessarily. I don't
Yeah.
think it's gonna be going away. I have, it's one of those things where if you think about a brand, especially in an industry where a lot of things are commoditized, right? If you can build a more premium brand, you can sometimes charge a little more for it. But also when you're doing things the right way and the way that's either better for the environment or better for the consumer, there needs to be storytelling around that of as to why they should care. I mean, taste, convenience, quality, all that is still really important. In fact, they usually do trump the sustainability story, but it's becoming more and more important. And I think there's other places in the world that have figured that out. But, we're really truly we're set up to be able to help with that strategy. And then oftentimes we model it so they can, our clients can see a return on investment in the end.
Yeah, I know it's different around the world too, for sure. The US has some different FDA regulations than the rest of the world, and I feel like we're maybe a little bit behind in some ways in terms of getting our food to be, utilized and grown in ways that are actually good for us to eat as a whole in society.
Well, and a lot of big brands do have sustainability goals for the next, 1, 2, 3 decades. And so we're really good at telling those ESG stories as well. One thing I was asked when I started at this agency, I had, friends from lots of other agencies like, wow, that seems like so specific. But if you think about it, the food system is really broad. And as a person that
Yes.
like, there's a lot of variety. You could do everything from ag technology to,
Mm,
of course, there's some B2B stuff, but also direct to consumer. We just launched a campaign for a large client that has a new product in the artichoke category. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff happening. And so for me as a creative, the variety is great. Also, we're building brands from scratch often. And I would also argue that, sure, there's people that want to work for the Nikes of the world or, big, sexy brands, but there's something really interesting about having to build a brand and also in a category that might not be considered super sexy.
mm,
Again, you're still talking to a human being at the end of the day. They care, they have emotions and feelings. And so I find it more challenging to try to tell those stories and still make them very entertaining, interesting, relevant, still capitalize on what's happening in culture. So I always say if you're looking to be brand famous, this is probably not the right agency for you. But if
mm.
you're really looking to challenge yourself from a creative standpoint, build an amazing book, again, building brands oftentimes from scratch or evolving them, it's an incredible place to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a unique industry for sure, but there is a lot of power in it, and your voice is important to the consumers that maybe don't understand what they're eating. And I feel like a lot of people in this country or on the world, but maybe we're talking about the US right now, aren't really aware of what they're putting into their bodies. And, we have, a health problem in this country. It's well documented. So I feel like telling that story is a huge role because you really are impacting the entire country as a whole, and trying to give an inside look at what's actually going on with the food they're eating. So it's an important role that you guys play.
Yeah, and frankly, it's the oldest economy in the world. I mean, everyone has to eat.
Yeah.
So I do think it's just really important, and I'm really proud of what our agency stands for and the types of brands that we represent, because we definitely vet it pretty carefully, both within Secondborn and Noble West, who
Mm,
we want to work with. Yeah, there's a lot of incredible things being done out there.
that's cool. So you also go through a pretty thorough process of deciding who works with you and you do work for.
For sure. I mean, it has everything from values alignment to whether or not it's appropriately in our lane. We look at a lot, probably like 10 different criteria to make sure it's a good fit. We've said no too because it hasn't been a good alignment, whether it's
Interesting.
values or maybe we know that we won't be the best fit for this particular
Yeah, true.
business challenge. But we definitely go through a vetting process on both businesses to make sure it's a good fit.
I like that a lot. That's cool. Because you're already in a very specific industry, and it seems like, you'll just take all the business, but you have values and you stick to them, and that's good. That's really, like, that's what good business is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Cool. So, like, fast forward 3 to 5 years, how do you see Secondborn being integrated into what you already do at Noble West, and how do you see Noble West continuing to evolve?
Well, I'll start with Secondborn. I hope that this becomes a model that it probably will continue to evolve in itself just because that's how our industry works. But our mission is to bring joy back into creativity. So I hope that in 3 to 5 years, we can look back and we have helped teams, individuals, brands just see that not only does it work when it comes to creative problem solving, but also it was an enjoyable process along the way. And so, yeah, I think in 3 to 5 years, who knows? Who knows what's around? That's tough in this world to
Oh,
predict.
yeah.
When it comes to Noble West, I hope that we continue to see an importance on understanding where our food comes from. And so I just see the growth continue. We've had an epic year. We've grown a ton this year, which has been incredible. We feel very fortunate for that. But if we're growing, it means that we are fulfilling our mission. And so for me, that would be the most important thing is to make sure that we continue to help support brands that are trying to fix the food system.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, you're juggling 2 things, and they're both progressing in the way that you hoped, and, integrating together is it's a lot to handle, but you seem to have a perfect grasp of everything.
I'm not perfect. I don't know what I'm doing. One thing, it's really important for me to work with people that I'm inspired by, that I'm always aligned with, and that I'm gonna laugh with every day. And I can tell you I laugh every
Mm,
day. So I feel
that's
pretty
beautiful.
yeah, I feel very fortunate for those things.
Yeah. Well, congrats on all that. It's really good to see that and see that, happiness is involved in what could maybe seem like a hectic lifestyle, but you manage it just like a leader should. So I'm sure everything with Secondborn will go wonderfully for you.
Well, thanks. I sure hope so, but if not, I know I learned something along the way, and that counts a lot too. So,
That's all we can do, right? We
yeah.
have to put ourselves out there and try things, and if there's a lesson learned that's not as exactly as we'd hoped, then that's still a lesson learned.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
okay, well, Kate, it's been a pleasure talking to you, getting to know you, learning more about Noble West and your new company, Secondborn. Thanks for coming on, and yeah, talk soon.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, or really anywhere you get your podcasts. And maybe you can share it with someone you know that is either interested in business, interested in founder stories, kind of hearing the behind the scenes of why people do the things that they do, and just in general, good conversation. So be sure to subscribe and follow us everywhere.